In the past 7 years, since I left the corporate life of an accountant, I traveled the world in search for experiences, friendships, and answers. I started off as an English teacher and shared some special memories with good friends and happy children. I then pursued the monastic life as a Buddhist monk in Taiwan and learned the ancient Buddhist teachings from great masters and teachers. After 2 years, I decided to continue my journey into Thailand, where I met the love of my life and we established a school together to spread the joys of learning to hundreds of students. Now I'm back in Australia where it all began, but this time full of inspiration, experience, and a greater sense of purpose. In my travels, I learned one truth, that everyone has something special to live for and a worthy message to share. My purpose is to reveal the treasure within us all and to show how precious life truly is. Join me on my podcast, and together, let's shine mindfulness into the beautiful lives of everyday people. Let's go! Hi everyone, I'm Byron from Mindfulness Podcast, where we shine mindfulness into the beautiful lives of everyday people. And today I've got my very good friend Annie to come and share her beautiful life journeys and experiences so that we can all live and learn vicariously through them. How's it going, Annie?
Good. Better now that I'm here with you,
Yeah.
my old friend Byron.
Thanks, Annie. So excited to have you on and very excited to have this casual conversation. But before we get started, I want to set the context for the podcast by introducing you to the viewers, and then maybe you can add on what I've missed. Is that okay?
Of course.
Okay, awesome. Annie and I have been friends for a very long time, and Annie was always the fun-loving girl in the group that everyone wanted to be around because she always knew how to make you feel special and welcome. I was always inspired by Annie's sense of adventure and trust in her intuition, as she always knew exactly where to be at the right time to get the most out of life. And that's always been reflected in her exciting life journeys. Annie started documenting her daily activities before it was mainstream, and that's what led her to becoming a travel blogger and influencer with 150,000 followers, where she traveled the world sharing her insightful perspectives on different holiday destinations. Everything was going so well, and Annie was living the life that everyone would have dreamed of. That is until COVID hit in 2020 and all traveling was restricted. This forced Annie to reevaluate her life options, and that's when she decided it was the perfect time to pivot into a new adventure and to start a family. Since then, Annie is now a happy and proud mother of a beautiful baby boy, Felix, and now she's currently starting her new adventure into motherhood. But most importantly, despite all of Annie's life experiences and successes, she's always remained her grounded, loving, and friendly self. That's the Annie I know and love. But now it's your turn, Annie. How would you describe yourself and what you do?
Like you said, my name's Annie. Online, I'm probably better known as Annie's Bucket List. I did a lot of travel content. My main channel was Instagram. So I was basically an Instagram travel content creator or Instagram like travel influencer. But before that, I had lived like a very corporate, regular life, you know. I'm Vietnamese. My parents are Vietnamese immigrants, came to Sydney to obviously have a better future for their family. Their expectation of me was to either work in a very traditional corporate job, or be a doctor or a dentist, something in the medical field, you know, like you're either a doctor, a dentist, or a failure in their eyes. So I was working in a corporate job for nearly 10 years. Wow. I actually did a Bachelor of Business, and I majored in marketing, and I started working in digital marketing, and I was doing that for nearly 10 years. I moved from quite like large companies and working in a very stable, regular job, making a good living for myself, but obviously very, you know, traditional job. And then about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, was when I quit my corporate job and I decided to pursue travel. And that opportunity came up just because I was traveling and sharing content online out of my own interests and hobbies. Every time I was able to get like leave from work, I would travel and take photos and videos and share that online. And it started gaining momentum and I started getting followers. And before you know it, I had travel opportunities. Every country has a tourism board. that tourism board organizes media trips with like people from travel publications, maybe from the media, or influencers like
Mm.
me, and also like professional photographers. So they organize like a group of these media people to explore a destination and just do things that they want to promote, to get people traveling to their country. And I didn't realize this world existed until I started getting invited on these trips. Obviously, when I'm working in a corporate job, I would have to say no because I'm
Mm.
working. And then, yeah, I took the risk, quit my corporate job, and I started doing these media trips, and my life completely changed. Like,
Wow.
I think about the travel opportunities I was able to do, and I'm so grateful for that. And you know, I did a good stint of travel before COVID happened and
Yeah.
completely turned my life upside down. So, my journey kind of changed. But yeah, I was able
Mm.
to do that after taking a big risk of leaving my corporate job, and I would not change anything.
Yeah, and I can understand the risk that you took because for me, I was also in the corporate world taking the risk against what my mother wanted, but me deciding was the best thing for me to do. But what were the key values that were important to you in taking that risk in the first place and pursuing something like travel blogging?
Yeah, well, I think you can relate to this as well, and probably many people from our generation can,
Yeah.
because, like I said, my parents are immigrants, and when they moved here, they really wanted me to do every opportunity, like do everything that they couldn't do.
Mm.
They came over here with nothing, and basically they're like, you need to build that life for yourself, you know? So
Yeah.
I was really dedicated to my career. I thought that my whole purpose in life was to climb the corporate ladder,
Mm.
make a lot of money, hustle, you know, like you're in that mindset. And I was just working constantly. I'd be the first person in the office, last person to leave. When
Wow.
I leave the office and I go home, I'm still thinking about work. On the
Mm.
weekend, I was still thinking about work. And I didn't really give myself time or space to enjoy my life. Even
Mm.
on my days off, if I'm talking to someone or doing something, because I had the stress of work on me, I wasn't 100% there, or like
Mm.
I'm yeah, not able to enjoy my life because I didn't have that balance.
Mm.
And I realized like I was 100% into my work,
Mm.
but I need to balance it out, and I need to do things that actually make me happy and feel
Mm.
fulfilled in a different way. So when I started traveling, I realized like that was a part of my life that I wasn't able to do before.
Mm.
And that was the opportunity that I had in front of me, like at that moment. Like, I don't know if this will keep coming, if I'm even like relevant for a long time, you know? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that opportunity was there, and I took it, and I'm happy that I did. But I realized like I really needed that balance in my life. I
Mm.
couldn't keep working like I currently was, because
Mm.
I woke up every day dreading going to work.
Yeah, wow.
And one day I didn't want to look back at my life and be like, all I did was work.
Yeah.
You know, like all I did was work, and I didn't allow myself to do all of the amazing things that like actually add value to my life and
Yeah.
experiences.
So
Yeah.
so what balance did you get from becoming a travel blogger and living that type of lifestyle of traveling and, connecting with people? What type of balance did that give you?
Mm, I mean, being a travel influencer, people might think like on the outside, it might just look like you're traveling, having fun all the time.
Yeah.
But there's still that element of work there. Like, you know, I still had to answer emails. I still had to edit the content. I still had to plan things. And there was actually like the element of work. But the
Mm.
fact that I was able to work from anywhere in the world, and be able to work online and still travel while I work, that was a great balance for me. And
Mm.
I'm really happy to have that balance. And even now as a mum, like I think I told you, like I'm still doing work online as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
So I'm still able to be wherever my family is
yeah.
and be able to work online, and that flexibility was really what I was missing from my life.
Wow.
I wouldn't be able to get that sitting at a desk in my corporate job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And if we stay on the travel blogging for a little bit, because I think it's so interesting, and many people would be fantasizing about being able to travel the world and make money out of it. What was the key intention and energy that you bring into everyday life as a travel blogger to get the most out of your time and to get the most enjoyment at the same time?
Yeah. I never was the type of person to wake up and set the intention for the day. I
Yeah.
think that's something you're probably really good at, but I never really did that.
Well, even just intention as a career or just intention overall. Did you have
Yeah.
like an intention of like, I want to serve the community or I want to just have a lot of fun?
Yeah.
Or what was the intention around being a travel blogger?
I never took a moment to really think and define that, but I
Mm,
guess like looking at everything as a whole, now I can say that like building connections was something
mm,
that was really motivational for me in every way. So like we have the internet now, and we have the opportunity to put things online, and it connects people with you. It connects you with people you wouldn't have otherwise ever met.
yeah.
And some people really connect with your journey, your experiences. And that's very like meaningful for me.
Mm,
There are like I've shared things that are personal about my life that haven't been that easy to share
mm,
online, and then I might meet someone in person to say like, "Oh, you're so brave for sharing that I was going through the same thing," and that
wow.
connection is amazing.
Yeah.
And when I was traveling, like you're meeting all these people from all different parts of the world. Usually on the media trips, they're picking like one or two people from every country. So
Yeah.
you're meeting a whole wide variety of people,
Wow.
and understanding where they've come from, how it's led them
Mm,
to their job, and their way of life, and just
mm.
learning more about them, making that connection was just as fulfilling as the trip for me.
Yeah, wow. Because for
Yeah.
me, I really value connecting with people. Because for me, I learn a lot about them. I learn a lot
Mm,
about, culture, opens up my perspective, but it also gives me a deeper connection with them so that I can help them,
mm,
by understanding them deeply enough I can help. But from your perspective, why was connecting so important to you as well?
mm. I'd probably say like building a connection was important to me just because it opened my mind to so many
For
things.
sure.
Yeah, so you have a podcast now, and by having these conversations, you're like learning about like how people thought and felt, and
Yeah,
their journey. And that was something that I really like, that I would love to learn from other people as well, because
yeah,
everyone's life is different,
yeah.
and everyone's experience is different, and the best way to learn is just to talk to someone that's been through it.
Mm,
So I've learned a lot by talking to other people, even from your journey too. Like you have an amazing story. Like
thanks.
you used to be a monk at a monastery. Like that, this is not a normal journey that you hear a lot about. So connecting with people with really interesting stories like yourself, I feel like you can learn so much, and it
Yeah.
really opens your mind up to like, wow, the world is so huge,
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for the people that also want to become a travel blogger or travel as a lifestyle, what were the day-to-day feelings and emotions that you experienced just so that they know what to expect if they were to come into this industry?
Mm, yeah. Well, every day that I like woke up doing, my travel work, I was just like, wow, I'm so grateful for today.
Mm,
Like some days I'd be pinching myself like I cannot believe that I
wow.
have the opportunity to do this. So I think feeling that happiness and gratitude about your work is something that's hugely motivating. Like a lot of
Mm,
people don't have that in the work that they do, but when you feel grateful about what you do, when it excites you to wake up to yeah, every day, then that just makes you keep going.
yeah.
It's kind of like an adrenaline rush. You're like,
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm riding this roller coaster. Like I just want to keep
Wow.
going. So yeah, that gratitude is something that I always like carried with me. Like I had many moments where I'm like, pinch me, like is this real?
Yeah.
So, and I knew that that could be gone in an instant. Like I had no
Mm,
idea.
mm,
I didn't know COVID would happen, but it did. It just goes to
yeah.
prove that you don't know what's around the corner. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy that I took every day with a lot of like gratitude, and tried to build those connections, like yeah, while I was traveling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. And so, because everyone has their own ideas of what a travel blogger would be like and what the experiences would be like. But from the inside, now that you've seen the industry from the inside, what are your overall impressions and perspectives on this industry and the lifestyle involved?
Yeah, I think there's still stigma when people use the word influencer. It's more accepted now, but I
Mm.
guess when I was doing it, 4 or 5 years ago when I started,
Yeah.
it wasn't something that people took seriously.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'd meet someone and they'd be like, "Oh, so what's your Instagram work? Are you an Instagram influencer?" It was kind of like a negative connotation.
Yeah.
And from the outside, it might look like, oh, that's a brainless, like, no, like you're getting paid to do nothing kind of
Mm.
job. But being in it, I can see like it's completely different from what people know. Before I started doing like these media trips for like Instagram work, I didn't know that that world existed.
Yeah.
I just thought like, oh yeah, people like travel, but you can't make a living out of it. You don't get
Mm.
paid for it. You just do
Yeah.
it because like you want to do it, and that's
Yeah.
what I started off as.
Yeah.
And then when I was being invited to these trips and I was introduced to this world, I'm like, wow, I'm meeting people who have done this for like years. Like
Wow.
they've just gone from one place to the other, having like amazing travel experiences, because that was their job. They're
Mm.
working for a travel publication, or they're like a professional photographer that takes amazing work, like
Mm.
amazing travel content. And I didn't know that those kind of jobs existed,
Yeah.
especially with traditional parents. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're just told like you're working in an office or you're working in the medical field. Those creative type of job opportunities weren't something that were on my radar.
Mm.
So it really opened my mind up to like, wow, there's like an opportunity for people to do this. Like
Yeah.
some people have been working in it for years. I didn't know this world existed.
Yeah.
And yeah, now that I have a son, I'm like, I'm going to be happy with whatever career he pursues, because there's so many different jobs out there that you wouldn't even know exist,
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
So it definitely opened my mind up to how people could make a living doing
Mm.
travel, and I didn't know that was an option before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow. And so if we pivot to the next segment, which is more revolving around hardship and challenges and adversities, what were the key challenges and adversities that you had to face as you were transitioning into travel blogging
Mm.
that, that made it possible for you to do that, full time?
My parents were definitely like the first people that I thought about
Yeah.
because they, even now, they don't completely understand my work. So it was very hard for them to accept. The only time that my parents really acknowledged that they were happy with what I was doing was actually
Mm.
on my wedding day.
Yeah,
So
wow.
I did tell them that I left my corporate job, and their reaction was, what a waste of your studies, what a waste
Yeah.
of your degree, and all
Mm.
those years and time and money and study. So they weren't really happy about that. But
Mm.
then, yeah, on my wedding day, my dad did a speech and said, now I can see, like, I'm just happy because you're happy, and I
Wow.
know that was right for you. So, but that was a huge obstacle at the
Mm.
start. And yeah, I guess when you're traveling, you're not able to be there with your friends and family. So
Mm.
sometimes I would have felt like there's moments that I missed or milestones that I
Mm.
missed while I was away. But yeah, I still talk to my parents like every single day. But
Wow.
yeah, being in person, it's different.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess if you're really busy and traveling a lot, then you'll miss that. You'll
Mm.
probably understand the same thing
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think one of the biggest obstacles for me though that really changed my life was like when I lost my grandpa.
Mm.
So that
Wow.
was when I was still working in a corporate job, like probably towards the end of it when I was thinking of leaving. And yeah, it was very sudden. He was in hospital, unwell, and in his last few days in the hospital, he was kind of like in and out of it and couldn't really understand what was happening around him or who was there. So he wasn't really talking to us.
Mm.
But the only time that he was able to be present was when my grandmother was there and she started singing a song that they used to sing together.
Wow.
And that was when he started remembering the lyrics and singing with her. And that was the only time he was able to be present. So obviously, like his love and connection that he's built with her is something that you carry on with you to your dying days,
Mm.
and those, I think that that moment really changed a lot of things for me, and it made me realize like my value in life wasn't to work myself to the ground. It wasn't to hustle in my corporate job. Like there's so much more to life, and I want to experience it, and I want to make that love and connection with people, because
Mm,
that's what you carry on with you. Like that's
mm,
what you remember of your life. You don't want to
yeah.
remember your life as I've worked myself to the ground.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, what about in terms of working as a travel influencer? Because from the outside, it just seems like rainbows and butterflies every single day. You're just traveling, eating the best foods. But what were the obstacles that were also involved with working in this industry?
Yeah, something that I think a lot of people could probably relate to now, that like technology is such a big part of our lives, was
Mm,
like the addiction to social media.
yeah.
So there was a time when my Instagram was blowing up, and it was growing really quickly, and I spent a lot of my time just like refreshing my page, seeing how many likes and seeing how many people saw my post, and I became addicted to that feeling.
Mm,
And it got to a point where my self-worth was based on how many likes and views I could get,
yeah.
and which is so silly. It's like, why am I letting like my feelings of my day and how I
Mm,
live dictated on a number?
yeah.
But I think that can happen really easily, especially if your job is to create content online. Like
Mm,
you're addicted to that feeling of constantly growing and having more followers and more likes. So
for sure.
yeah, it's easier to fall into that wormhole. But yeah, I want to be more present. I don't want to be
Mm,
online all the time, especially now when you have kids, you also don't want them to be glued on the phone all the time, you
yeah,
know?
for
So
sure.
it's like I should set the example, and I want to be present. And that was something I really struggled with when my Instagram page was growing.
Mm,
Now I'm quite casual about it. I'm not traveling at the moment. I'm like, I'll post when I can, and then you kind of set and forget. You don't really
yeah.
think about it. But back then I was like
Mm,
obsessed. Yes, I guess that's one hurdle. I don't think I've told you this before, but also when COVID started, there was like an anti-Asian sentiment kind of happening
oh,
online.
wow.
And actually, one of the last collaborations that I did before COVID hit was with China Southern Airlines. So I had to like fly to China for a weekend, and I was promoting China, you know, and then COVID happened, and obviously, yeah, there was a lot of hate online, and people were kind of looking at the last post that I did, and I started getting, yeah, negative comments, people commenting on my posts. Like I posted up a photo of me with like a little, I had a photo of me and like a cute little animal that I posted online, and then someone will comment said, "Oh, I bet you ate that, and I bet you like it's your people that spread this like disease on us." And
Oh,
I
wow.
think that kind of negativity, like I don't feel like I'm very strong in terms
Mm,
of like I let those things affect me.
yeah.
So during COVID, not only was I feeling down
Mm,
because I didn't have that travel work anymore, but I was feeling down because I was getting hate online.
mm,
And I think that's something that's quite scary for someone who has a child now. You know, you're worried that they might go through the same thing eventually.
for sure.
So yeah, getting any sort of hate online is always scary. I don't think travel really opens you up to a lot of online hate, but that seemed to have happened through
Yeah.
COVID. So it took me a while to recover from that actually.
Wow.
And yeah, also like privacy, like trying to find the balance of not having to record and vlog every single second of your life, like
Yeah.
picking and choosing those moments, and then really being present when you're not being on your phone and sharing
Yeah.
content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So then, like, how much of the traveling would you actually enjoy, and how much of it is just work and creating content when you were traveling for
Mm.
work?
Most of the time, it would be a mix. So
Mm,
I would start off the trip because it was organized by a tourism board, or maybe it's like a travel website or an airline. They would organize the first part of the trip.
mm,
And the first trip that I went on the work trip, and then I went home. When I went home, I kind of regretted not extending my time overseas. So after that, anytime that I had travel work, I would just extend my time, even if it was for an extra few days, just to explore and do things on my own.
mm.
to give me that balance, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like I was doing work stuff, but then at least at the end of that, I could go and do my own thing and
Nice.
explore things in my own time. So that was nice. There have actually been some trips that were like very hectic. Like the schedule was crazy. I had no rest.
Wow.
And then yeah, after I finished that trip, like Will would be like, "Can we just like book this hotel around the corner and just lie in the pool?" I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
"That sounds great. Let's just do that." So yeah, we would always try and extend the trip and do our own
Mm,
things. Sometimes I would be there on the trip myself. Sometimes I would be with my husband Will. So yeah, it just
wow.
really depends.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so everything was stopped because of COVID when the
Mm.
traveling was restricted. But now with traveling back on, but now you have a child, is this door closed in terms of being a travel blogger, or do you think you might want to revisit this profession in the future?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I really struggle with at the moment because my whole job was basically travel content. I was constantly
Mm,
traveling, constantly had things to put online, and then yeah, now that I'm at home with my son, it's like trying to find that balance. Like I spend most of my time with him. I'm not online as often as I was before. If I do share something online, it's kind of like, oh, but is this am I just sharing it because I just want to keep this page alive? It's not
mm,
because I'm doing that, like all that travel and all the things that I
mm.
was doing before. And also my son, I don't know if he wants to be out there in the public to everyone
Yeah.
as well. Because yeah, I guess when he's old enough and decides to be on social media, he can. But
Mm,
for now, it's like, how much do I really want to share about his life? Does he want all this content about himself online?
yeah.
So I really don't know, but I do want to have travel memories with him. Whether or not I
Mm,
share that online, I'm still trying to think. Like it's kind of a question mark.
mm.
But I have been happy actually not being as online as I was before.
Yeah. Wow.
Because yeah, I guess I've got more priorities
Yeah.
now, more places to spend my time. So it's still a question mark for me. I don't
Yeah.
really know.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
What about if we were to pivot into the final segment, which is more future pacing, and now as a mother, what are the things you're looking forward to in the future now that excite you and give you that energy and motivation?
Like when you asked me this the first time, like when we were just chatting ourselves, I was like, when you are a new parent for
Yeah.
the first time, like you're just living like month by month. You
Yeah,
know,
for
my
sure.
baby's 10 months now, and then I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen at 11 months? Like I'm searching
Yeah.
online. So you just kind of you don't look at things like that far ahead. You're just kind of like, oh, next
The
month,
little
what is it gonna learn?
milestones.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
even like, yeah, this week I was like, yay, he held a toothbrush. Like that's my milestone.
Wow.
And now I'm gonna look forward to him taking his first steps.
Wow.
So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
there's
That's
all these
exciting.
milestones that you've now find exciting. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's nothing like a big grand plan of like travel or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to like just watching him grow and going
Mm.
through all those things for the first time as a parent.
Wow.
Yeah, and eventually one day, like especially when he's a little bit older and we can travel together as a family, like I'd be excited
Mm.
to make those memories too. But right
Yeah.
now, I'm just kind of living month by month, you know, seeing
Yeah.
where it takes me, seeing what he
Wow.
does.
Nice. And so with Felix at the core of your focus now,
Yeah.
what are the ways that you would have to develop yourself to create the best environment and upbringing for your son?
Yeah, something that I've really had to learn that I wasn't good at before, I'm still trying to learn to be good at now, is patience.
Yeah.
And I think every parent would also like connect with this. Like you really need to have a lot of patience
Mm.
because when your baby is in this world, you're essentially not speaking the same language. They can't talk to you and communicate how they
Yeah.
feel except for, crying, and you kind of have to like figure out what's going on. So I think it's very easy for you to like lose your patience and get upset, and
Mm.
your child might feel that energy around
Yeah, for
them.
sure.
Yeah. So for example, if your baby's crying and you're also upset and you're like, why are you crying?
Yeah.
And you know, that stressful environment, it will actually take you longer to figure out why they're
Yeah.
crying. So
Yeah.
now I'm kind of have to be like, okay, my baby's crying, like it's okay. Okay, are you cold? Are you hungry? And trying to figure out together what it is. But that does take a lot of patience,
Mm.
especially if you hear like a baby crying in your ear. Like it's easy for someone to, like, you know, just snap and be like, oh my god, what's going on,
Yeah,
and
for
get really
sure.
frustrated. So I constantly find myself having to practice patience, and I
Mm.
wasn't good at that before. Like I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, I need to do something, then I need to do it now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And now it's like, okay, I'll take that time to figure it out with him.
Mm.
I want my baby to know that I have that time and energy to be with him,
Wow.
to help him learn and to help him grow. And that's something that, yeah, would be a huge challenge for
Mm.
parents. Everything is a shock when it's
Yeah.
the first time with the kid.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
I have one baby, you know. Maybe there's someone like listening to this that have like multiple kids. Like, yeah, good luck being patient. You never
That's
know.
true. Yeah.
But that's something that I'm really actively trying to do. Be more
Nice.
patient.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so you've had such an interesting life journey so far. You've done everything from corporate to traveling to now being a mother. What are the key insights that you want to share with the viewers to basically summarize everything into like a key lesson?
Just to do what makes you happy.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the most like cliche thing ever, but I think yeah, especially if you're from a very traditional background,
Mm,
maybe you're told that you could only live life one way, but
mm,
honestly, if that doesn't make you happy and you're always thinking about the other way, you
mm.
can go that other way and go back to what's safe and
Yeah,
what's comfortable later on.
yeah.
That's what I kept telling myself, you know, like I could stay in this corporate job or I can explore something else. And if that doesn't work, I can always go back to my corporate job. I
Yeah.
think while you're young and you're able to do things, like do things that make you happy, and life will always find its way to figure things out. You know, even through the hardships of COVID and me losing my travel work, like
Mm.
I wouldn't take anything back for the world because it's now led me to my son.
Yeah, wow.
And that was a journey in itself,
Mm.
and it's something that I had always wanted to do, but I always kind of said, oh, I'll do that later on. Like I kind of put that on pause because I was focused on travel. And
Mm.
then, yeah, COVID forced me to really think about that. And
Mm.
it just goes to show that you can pivot your life. It doesn't need
Mm.
to be set in stone. You don't need to be stuck in something you're not happy with.
Yeah, wow,
Yeah.
nice. Great insight. Well, thank you so much for being on here, Annie. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you or follow your travel blog?
I'm Annie's Bucket List on Instagram, so you can find me on there.
Okay, I'll put that link down below. And before we finish off, is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish the podcast today?
uh, Thank you. And also thank you to you, Byron,
Thanks.
because yeah, having this conversation, it also allowed me to, you know, spend time with you, and I haven't seen you in so long.
Yeah.
And you have such an interesting story yourself. So I'm sure whoever's listening would be blown away by the experiences you have. But yeah, thank you so much for even thinking I'm interesting enough to come on your
Yeah, you've always inspired me, and a
podcast.
lot of the reasons why I've done what I've done was because I wanted to live a big life like you.
Oh, your life
So
is
thanks.
bigger. Trust me. It's way bigger.
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks for your time.
Thank you,
Thanks for
Byron.
watching, everyone. See you guys next time. Bye for now.
Yeah.
Nice, Eddie. Have mine.